we are, live at the Loft. I'm Terry Knight.
I'm Al.
Yes, and I'm Kelly Guest, and we are both delighted and honored to have Al here with us today because he has recently left hometown radio heritage station WCCO, and Terry and I know what that feels like.
I was?
Yeah.
For 12
I'm not working
years.
there anymore?
No.
Well, it was a shock. You spend 12 years at a place and it becomes a family.
Oh yeah.
And that makes it really tough when you suddenly find yourself not there anymore. And, what are all these people doing up at this time of day? I'm driving to Minneapolis and they're parking in my parking spots, and you got to pay for parking during the day.
In the middle of the night, yeah.
What is that like for you?
It's ridiculous.
Overnight? I mean,
Yeah.
how are you sleeping?
Now?
Yeah.
Like a baby.
Are you?
My wife, she can't sleep because I'm there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would
I
think.
never even thought of it.
So back up just a little bit. When you were working the overnights, and that's a long time to have your circadian rhythms interrupted in such a way. Yes.
That's what that's called.
Yes, it is.
I like that.
And they have pills for it too, but we won't go there. So, when did you sleep?
When I get off the air, I'd be home about 6, be in bed sleeping by 7, sleeping from noon to 2, and then get up. And then about 6 in the afternoon, my body would tell me when it was time to go down for a 2-3 hour nap.
So you never slept in 8-hour pieces, you
No.
slept in little chunks.
Split shift. It took me 2 years to adjust to that and to figure it out what worked for me. And that worked. And I think anybody who works a third shift comes to that realization that they've got to figure out what's going to go for them. And that worked for me.
Really?
But it was also a drag.
Yeah.
Because it was tough.
Did your wife work a traditional day job?
Yes, yeah. So we never saw each other during the week.
Really?
Yeah, only pretty much on the weekends. I would get home and wake her up, and she'd get, the bed was never warm. Unfortunately, it wasn't too cold. So, yeah, but it worked. Yeah.
So you can even do dinner. I used to, and this is the first time I've ever had the pleasure of seeing you in person, but I always, because I worked morning shows too, I got up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's worse, yeah, that's worse.
You think?
Yeah,
Oh.
Dave Lee and I used to, my first year that we'd compare who has the worst shift. And when we came to the conclusion, Dave, at that time he had young children. And so he'd be out, doing sporting events and other things, until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night.
That's hard.
And then he'd be up at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Heading into the station, so it's much more difficult for him than for me.
Well, you drove me to work. It's more times than I can ever possibly tell you.
Was I okay? Did I scare you as a driver?
No, you are just fantastic. It was so fun because it's weird and creepy and lonely to work those hours. I don't know if anybody out there, well, certainly our colleagues in the industry can relate that had to get up in the middle of the night. But it's odd when you don't have the same schedules.
That's right.
So you were a huge comfort.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
And I remember and why this sticks out, I'm sure people come up to you and tell you this all the time, the things that they remember you talking about, the one thing, I mean, and you had many topics, but you spoke about the smell of burning leaves.
Yeah.
You
I remember that as a kid. Do you remember that? Because it was in the fall in Minnesota, everybody was burning leaves.
Yep.
And I love to tell the story about a neighbor that we had, and he was just a great guy. Elmer Stensrud was his name. And he used to hire me to work in the yard. And we were raking the leaves after they put the burning ban into effect. And every year we'd always rake the leaves out on Knox Avenue and just put a match to them. And I was a young guy and I had no idea about burning ban, but we raked him into the street and he put a match to him and he went like this. And all of a sudden the fire trucks and the police pulled up and he said, "Good job." and they fined him. Yeah, but he was a great guy. He was having fun.
Watching the...
Wanted to see how long it could take before they'd respond to leaves burning. And I still, to this day, I love the smell. And I think of Elmer doing that. It was really cool.
I grew up in Southern California, and we weren't allowed to light anything on fire because the mountains and the desert did it so often on its very own, or with the help of ignorant smokers.
Whereabouts in California?
Southern, Orange County, before it was the OC.
Whereabouts in Orange County?
Irvine?
Irvine.
Yeah.
My in-laws lived in Torrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
LA County.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just new to this Minnesota thing.
You love this winter? Was that a yes?
No. So that was the thing that helped, I don't know, for me personally, to know you, was hearing all of your stories, and it actually did help me acclimate. It made me understand these people that I would.
We proved we were all nuts.
Well, you can jump in anytime, Taylor. I don't have the exclusive rights.
I'm actually enjoying the conversation. So, the one question I had for you is, how did your listeners change over the years? Did you hear any sort of a difference in the calls that you would take and that sort of thing?
No, that's why we call them the Nuts at Night, because they didn't change. It was we become a 24-hour-a-day society, and so the audience was huge. I had never done an overnight show, and so I didn't know what to expect when I came in. But I was shocked as to how many people were listening. But CCO hits 38 states and 5 Canadian provinces at that time of night, so the audience is just huge. But you know, we had the core group of callers. Some were great, some not so great, but they were all welcome to call. You know, what do they figure that, what is it, 1% of your audience will actually pick up the phone and call? So, you know, we had a lot of fun callers. We had callers that were absolutely bizarre, like the outside agitator, Will, in La Crosse, Wisconsin, who once chained himself to a tree and so would be cut down.
Okay.
And he disappeared for a couple of years, and we thought he was still on the tree.
Oh.
But just about a month ago, he called, and he was still in Wisconsin doing fine.
Did you ask about life since the tree?
Oh yeah, we talked about that a lot when he would call. He would just go immerse himself in the northern Minnesota woods.
Did you feel like a counselor to some people?
Oh yeah, you are a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without question.
Oh, it's the radio equivalent, to be sure, of a bartender, I would think.
Yeah. Oh, without question. Yeah.
So tell me what it's like to prep for a show, an overnight show like that, because it's far different, I would think, than the morning shows that I was always doing.
It's a great question. You've got to read a lot. You have to be up on everything. And if somebody calls and wants to talk about a subject that you aren't familiar with, you got to do your job. And I'd really be angry with myself when that happened. And it did happen. You know, somebody would call in and say, "Did you see?" And I would say, "No, where did you see that?" Mm-hmm. You know, because it really ticked me off. Because I would get up on average at 9 p.m. and that's when I would start reading the newspapers and making calls if I needed to make calls to find out more information. And going to the station at midnight, and then I'd jump on the wires and see what was going on in the EP and the other wires. And we were at 1. So, you know, there was a good 4 hours of show prep. So an hour for each hour. But if there was something really, that was really special going on, I would start doing it when I get up in the afternoon, which occurred many times.
Sure.
Yeah.
So did you go in there with an idea that you had 5 or 6 things that you, because you get a sense of the time that it's going to take you to cover a topic, but how often, what I'm curious is, did you get through what you had planned, and how often did the callers take you elsewhere?
Let me tell you, honest to goodness, 99% of the time, I'd come in with a stack of papers, all this show prep, and within 15 minutes it'd be set aside. It'd just be gone, and you'd just be flying by the seat of your pants. But that's what made it so much fun. That's what made it special. The greatest job on the face of the earth. And working that time slot was the best shift on the radio station, without question.
And why is that?
It was the only shift that CCO was the way it used to be, where the guy on the air had controlled the show. And it was great because I worked at CCO, but nobody in management knew it. until the suits in New York looked at the books and went,